Welcome to another episode of the Dog Mind Gears podcast.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, of course. So today we are doing a deep dive into something that, well, I think pretty much everyone on the internet loves.
Oh, totally. Fluffy dogs.
Exactly. We're looking at this really comprehensive guide called Cloud-like Companions, the Science and Care of Fluffy Dogs. And our mission today is to essentially unpack the literal DNA of Fluff.
Which is way more complex than people realize, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what if I told you that by, just liking a photo of a fluffy puppy on your phone, you're actively altering the evolutionary blueprint of an entire species?
Yeah, it sounds like science fiction, but it's actually happening right now.
Right. We're going to explore how social media and human preference are rapidly changing dog evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And we also want to give you, the listener, a practical, science-backed playbook for actually choosing and caring for one of these fluffy companions.
Because, as much as we all love burying our faces on a dog that feels like a warm marshmallow.
Best feeling ever.
Right. But there is a very real, very complex biological machine operating underneath all that fur. We tend to just register the cute factor and stop there.
Yeah, we don't think about the mechanics of it. Or the fact that our obsession with this look has triggered massive economic markets and even some pretty dark ethical debates in the veterinary world.
Exactly. So I think we really need to look under the hood first. Before we can talk about how to care for them, we have to understand the exact science of what makes them fluffy.
Let's do it. So when I was reading the source material about how these coats are formed, I honestly kept picturing a video game character creation screen.
Oh, like when you're making an avatar.
Yeah, exactly. Where you have those distinct sliders, right? Like one slider for hair length, one for facial hair, one for curl. And you just move them around to get whatever fluffy coat you want.
That's actually a really helpful analogy to start with. Biologically, obviously, it's less about a sliding scale and more about genetic switches.
Right, turning things on and off.
Yeah. The guide details 3 core genes that basically act as those sliders, dictating almost all coat textures in dogs. The first one, and really the most important for us today, is FGF5.
FGF5, got it.
Then you have the RSPO2 gene. We call that one the furnishings gene.
Furnishings.
Like furniture.
Kind of. It refers to the extra hair on the face, so it alters the hair follicles to give breeds like Schnauzers their distinct eyebrows and mustaches.
Okay. Billman look.
Exactly. And the third one is KRT71. That gene actually alters the keratin protein structure of the hair shaft itself. It makes it curl.
So that's what makes a poodle a poodle.
You got it. But I want to focus on that first one you mentioned, FGF5.
Yeah, the guide calls it the master switch for long hair in almost all mammals. So how does it actually work? If I'm not dragging a slider, what is FGF5 actually doing to make, like, a Samoyed look like a smiling polar bear?
So FGF5 stands for fibroblast growth factor 5.
Okay.
In a wild canine, or even just a normal short-haired dog, this gene produces a protein that acts as a brake pedal. A brake pedal. Okay, slowing things down.
Right. It signals the hair follicle to stop growing, to exit the anagen, or growing phase, and enter the shedding phase. So the hair only gets so long before it falls out.
Makes sense.
But what creates a fluffy dog is a specific mutation in this gene. The mutation essentially breaks that brake pedal.
Wait, it breaks it?
Yeah, it disables the stop signal. So without that chemical break, the hair follicle just keeps producing hair for a much, much longer period before it finally sheds.
Wow. So we are literally looking at a broken genetic brake pedal, and we've just decided we really like the look of that broken biology.
We love it, and we are selecting for it aggressively.
Yeah, the guide highlights this crazy 2025 study on Akita dogs, and it shows just how fast we are pushing this broken gene.
Oh, the Akita study is fascinating. It's one of the clearest examples of human-driven evolution that we have right now.
Because they compared modern dogs to old DNA, right?
Exactly. Researchers sequenced the DNA of modern Akitas from 2025 and compared it to genetic samples taken from Akitas back in the 1970s.
So that's just a 50-year window.
Right. And in evolutionary terms, 50 years is, it's nothing. It's barely a blip.
Right. Evolution usually takes millennia.
Exactly. Yet, they found that modern Akitas carry this FGF5 mutation at a drastically higher rate than their ancestors from the 70s.
Meaning we didn't just passively sit back and watch the breed slowly get fluffier. We actively engineered it.
We did. Breeders noticed which puppies had the longer, thicker coats, and they realized those specific dogs sold for more money or won more ribbons.
Because people wanted the fluffy ones.
Right. So they selectively bred them to concentrate that specific broken gene. Human preference literally changed the DNA of the breed in just a few decades.
That's wild. And since human preference is driving this, we have to ask, like, why are we suddenly so obsessed with this? And the answer, of course, is right in our pockets.
Social media.
Yeah. Social media has put this evolutionary shift into absolute hyperdrive. I mean, you see a video of a chow chow with a literal lion's mane go viral on TikTok.
Oh, and everyone wants one.
Exactly. It hits 20 million views, and suddenly the search volumes for fluffy dog breeds just skyrocket. And it's not just about likes. It's about a staggering amount of money.
The fluff economy.
Right. The guide notes that the global pet grooming market is projected to hit $24.54 billion by 2030. Billion with a B.
And that financial explosion is largely driven by what economists are calling the premiumization of pets.
Premiumization. That's a very corporate-sounding word.
It really is. But it basically means that 65% of owners now consider their dogs to be actual family members. They aren't just, animals that sleep out in the yard anymore.
There are babies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that psychological shift means you are willing to spend premium prices on specialized care.
Right, like those mobile grooming vans that pull up to your house.
Yeah, or organic detangling serums, hypoallergenic shampoos, blueberry facials for dogs.
Blueberry facials, I saw that. But let me push back on this a little bit. When I was reading about this fluff economy and this $24 billion market, the tone in the source material can feel quite critical.
It can, yeah.
But is spending billions on our pets actually a bad thing? I mean, if we're treating them like family and buying them high-quality care, doesn't that mean dogs have a better quality of life now than they basically ever have in human history?
That's a really fair question. And for many dogs, yes, their quality of life is fantastic. The ethical problem, though, arises when the pursuit of that premium viral aesthetic supersedes the actual biological health of the animal.
Oh, I see. When looks become more important than health.
Exactly. And the veterinary community is dealing with a major crisis right now because of this exact market demand. The absolute prime example of this dark side is the fluffy French bulldog.
Oh, man, yeah, I have seen these on Instagram. They look like little furry Ewoks.
They totally do, and people pay astronomical prices for them. But let's look at the biology. French bulldogs are a brachycephalic breed.
Meaning the flat face.
Right. They have severely flattened faces and compressed airways. They already struggle to breathe just existing normally.
Yeah, you can hear them snorting from across the room.
Exactly. And because dogs cool themselves primarily through panting, not sweating, a compressed airway means a Frenchie is naturally terrible at regulating its body temperature.
Right.
So imagine taking an animal that is already highly prone to heat stroke and using that FGF5 mutation to wrap its body in a thick, dense coat of fur.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're putting a heavy winter parka on an animal that can't sweat and can barely breathe. That feels like a thermal disaster waiting to happen.
It is a reckless gimmick.
Yeah.
It prioritizes the creation of a designer product for social media over the fundamental welfare of the dog. Adding thick fur to a dog that already struggles to breathe is just dangerous.
So that's where the cute factor creates an actual ethical crisis.
Exactly. That is where premiumization crosses the line into exploitation.
So if the genetics are out there and the market is pushing these extreme looks, how does a regular person like you, the listener, who just wants a healthy family dog, avoid falling into that trap?
Well, you have to look for ethical breeders and researchers who use genetic testing to fight this.
Okay, so how do they use it differently?
An ethical breeder uses genetic testing not to chase a viral aesthetic, but to protect the dog. They monitor these genetic markers so they can predict puppy coats and, more importantly, avoid pairing dogs that carry risky traits.
Risky traits like what?
Like certain coat color dilutions. There are genes that create these beautiful blue or silvery coats, but they can cause the pigment to literally clump inside the hair shaft.
Wait, the pigment clumps?
Yeah, and it physically breaks the hair, leading to severe skin issues and chronic infections. Professional breeders use genetic testing to maintain healthy genetic diversity rather than just breeding for a look.
Right, so science serving the health of the dog, not just the Instagram grid.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the really practical part for you, listening right now. To combat this issue of impulse buying a dog just because it looks good online, we need to pivot to how you should actually choose a fluffy breed.
Yes, because you have to align the dog with the reality of your daily life.
Right, because choosing a dog is like buying a vehicle. You wouldn't buy a massive, heavy-duty snowplow for a 15-minute city commute.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, so you shouldn't get certain breeds if you just want a low-energy couch companion. So what are the tips for choosing a breed for, say, a busy family lifestyle?
The first step is an honest audit. You must assess your budget, your living space, and your energy levels. Grooming costs alone run $50 to $100 per visit.
And that's every month or two, right?
Exactly. But beyond the wallet, you have to look at canine psychology. The guide compares breeds based on family friendliness and activity levels, and the contrast is huge.
Okay, let's contrast them. Give me an example of a dog that might look cute, but is a bad fit for a regular suburb.
Let's take the Old English sheepdog. Huge, fluffy, gorgeous, but they have a high-energy, goofy herding instinct.
Right, they're herders.
Yes. If you put them in a backyard with kids, they might literally try to herd your toddlers, nipping at their heels to keep them in a tight group.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the kids would hate that.
Totally. Or take the Tibetan Mastiff or the Great Pyrenees. People want them because they look like majestic lions or bears, but they have an incredibly independent, protective nature. A Great Pyrenees was engineered over centuries to guard livestock in the mountains against wolves.
So their fluff is literal armor.
Exactly. It's physical armor against wolf bites and freezing temperatures. They are nocturnal guardians. They will sleep during the day and roam your house, barking at delivery drivers all night. They are not golden retrievers in white suits.
Okay, note to self, no Great Pyrenees for a small apartment. But there is one giant working dog the guide specifically recommends as a nanny dog for families, right? The Newfoundland.
Yes, the Newfoundland. They are gentle giants.
Why are they so different from the Pyrenees if they're both huge and fluffy?
Because of what they were bred to do. Newfoundlands have an intuitive, hardwired instinct to protect and save people from drowning.
Oh, water rescue.
Right. That specific job requires an incredibly patient, observant temperament. It makes them incredibly safe and gentle around young children.
Wow, so they really are nanny dogs.
They are, but you still have to deal with massive amounts of drool, and their fur is uniquely oily to repel water, so there's always a trade-off.
Okay, so what if a listener doesn't want to deal with drool or a 150-pound giant? What are the specific, manageable, fluffy breeds you'd recommend for first-time owners?
The guide recommends 3 really solid options. First is the Bichon Frise.
Oh, the little white puffy ones?
Yeah, they are cheerful and, crucially, they are low-shedding. Second is the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel.
Very royal.
Very royal. They have a true lapdog temperament with manageable, silky fur. And third, of course, is the Golden Retriever.
The classic.
The classic. Gentle, eager to please, and highly family-friendly.
Okay, so you've done your audit, you've matched your lifestyle, and you bring home, say, a Bichon or a Golden. Now you face the daily reality of keeping that dog healthy.
And this is where people really underestimate what they've signed up for.
Yeah, the guide makes it so clear that grooming isn't just about aesthetics, like at all. It's a critical medical necessity backed by veterinary science.
It is preventative medicine. And to understand why, we have to look at the different types of coats. Let's compare a single-coated breed, like the Bichon, with a double-coated breed, like a Samoyed.
Okay, let's start with the single coat, the Bichon.
Single-coated breeds have hair that grows continuously, much like our hair. They shed very little, which people love, but because the hair stays on the body, it mats incredibly fast.
Right, the hairs just rub together and tangle.
Exactly. And a mat isn't just a knot. It pulls tightly on the skin, causing pain. Even worse, thick coats can trap moisture like sweat or rain right against the skin.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, it prevents air circulation. And that leads to bacterial infections and hot spots if they aren't properly brushed. So a Bichon requires professional grooming every 4 weeks.
Every 4 weeks, wow. Okay, and what about double-coated breeds?
That's
Samoyeds, Chow Chows, Huskies?
totally different mechanics. They require massive daily brushing when they blow coat.
Blow coat, that sounds intense.
It is. It means they lose their entire undercoat twice a year. If you don't brush them during this, that dead undercoat gets trapped beneath the top layer of hair and forms a solid, painful pelt.
Okay, so how do we prevent that? Because the guide gives a very specific, simple guide for daily grooming to prevent those painful mats.
Right, so step 1, you start with a high-quality slicker brush.
What's a slicker brush?
It's a brush with hundreds of fine, slightly angled wire pins. The angle allows the pins to bypass the coarse outer guard hairs and hook the dead, loose undercoat, pulling it out without scratching the dog's skin.
Okay, so you brush them out or are you done?
No, step 2 is a metal greyhound comb.
Like a fine-tooth comb.
Exactly. You use it to check your work, you drop the comb down to the skin and pull it through to check for tangles, and you have to pay special attention to high friction areas.
Where are those?
Behind the ears, under the armpits or legs, and right under the collar.
Ah, because the collar is always rubbing.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But this brings us to, honestly, my favorite part of the deep dive, the summer months.
Oh boy. The shaving debate.
Yes, because I have to play the voice of the confused listener here. The guide talks about the absolute danger of shaving double-coated dogs in hot weather. But look, if they are basically wearing a heavy winter parka in July, how does shaving them not cool them down?
I get it. It feels totally counterintuitive.
Right. Like if I'm wearing a down jacket in the summer, I take it off. Why wouldn't I take off the dog's jacket?
Because applying human physiology to a dog doesn't work. We cool down by sweating through our skin. Dogs cool down primarily by panting.
Okay.
To understand the double coat, you have to look at the thermodynamic.
Thermodynamics.
The kick of their double coat like a high-end thermos.
Okay, a thermos.
What makes a thermos keep your coffee hot, but also keep your iced tea cold? It has a vacuum layer, a pocket of trapped air.
Ah, okay. I see where this is going.
The dog's undercoat naturally insulates against both heat and cold. In the summer, that undercoat traps a layer of neutral air that acts as a buffer against the ambient heat of the sun. It keeps the heat out.
Wow. So their fur is like biological air conditioning insulation.
Exactly. If you shave a double-coated dog, you completely ruin that insulation. You expose their skin directly to the sun, making them vulnerable to sunburn and actually increasing their risk of heat stroke.
Because they have no barrier against the sun anymore.
Right. And worse, shaving permanently damages the coat's ability to grow back properly. The undercoat grows faster than the outer hairs, so if you shave it to the skin, it grows back weird, Velcro-like, and loses its weather resistance forever.
Okay, so if we shouldn't shave them, how do owners actually keep them cool during the summer?
You use regular, thorough brushing to get the dead hair out so air can flow. And then you manage their environment. Keep them in the shade, use air conditioning, and set up kiddie pools so they can stand in the water to cool their paws.
So brush them, provide shade, and let them splash in a pool. Simple.
Very simple.
Well, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive. We've gone from genetic switches to the fluff economy to thermodynamics. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a really fascinating final question to ponder based on all this.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. We talked about how human preferences managed to significantly alter Akita genetics in just the 50 years since the 1970s, right?
Right.
So what will our current obsession with hypoallergenic and designer fluff do to the dog genome in the next 50 years?
It's a huge unknown.
Exactly. Will we accidentally engineer entirely new types of coats that need totally different care? Or worse, will we completely lose ancient functional coats like that incredible water-resistant Newfoundland fur just because they aren't trending on social media?
It's definitely something to think about the next time you see a viral puppy video.
Truly. Well, thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, visit the source article on Dogzilla magazine at dogzilla.com.